Welcome to Grace Among Us, the podcast where we unearth the many faces and places of grace and share stories of the power of grace in our human lives. Our desire is that this will inspire you to see grace in your own life and share it with others.
Hi, my name is Carrie Adcock. I'm a mentor with a passion for showing high achievers how to make space and enjoy the ride so that they can make the impact their heart desires with their life back. And I absolutely love hanging out with Ebony and talking about grace. It is by far one of my favorite topics. So how about we get to it, Ebony?
This is Ebony Gilbert, and I am participating in the Grace Among Us podcast. By day, I work for corporate America in healthcare, and in my spare time, I like to hang out with Carrie Adcock and discuss grace.
What has been your biggest misconception about grace?
What has been my biggest misconception about grace? That makes it sound like a past tense thing that is now resolved. And I'm going to answer it in the present tense because sometimes what I know in my mind doesn't translate into my daily thoughts. You know, I've always been taught that grace is free. It doesn't require you to do something to get it. It's not contingent on your behavior, or you can't earn it. Now, I know that in my mind, but in real life, I find myself leaning on concepts like karma and reap what you sow. And while those concepts are very true for me, and I believe them, I don't think they have much to do with grace. And I have a hard time disconnecting the reaping and sowing and karma aspect of life from the true free gift of grace. And that's a daily struggle for me. That if I do good, good will come. If I show grace, then it'll come back to me. And that might be true. But if I never showed it, if I never exhibited or demonstrated these things that I'm trying to do, I would still have access to grace. And it's easy for me to say that and to know it in my mind, to feel it and live it. The simple idea that good stuff can come to someone so undeserving, or that such an unworthy being doesn't have to do these good works to receive it. That's so counterintuitive in my spirit sometimes. So it's an active misconception that I work through daily. And I'm thankful for it, because then I don't have to worry about every time I make a mistake, I've forfeited my next dose of grace, right?
Right.
But it's active daily in my life, if I'm being totally honest. Whoa, big transparent moment. I just heard myself talking, and now I want to rewind and change my answer to be something a little more pleasant, but that's the truth.
It's a beautiful picture. I love that you said, I can't earn grace. Like there is no scorecard with grace. Mm-hmm. And as you said, I don't even have to do good things to receive grace. And what came to mind is like, amazing grace that saved a wretch like me. It's almost, I'd almost go so far to say is grace comes to me before I've ever done anything to earn it.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's unconditional. And I've worked so hard for so many things that in my mind, I've got to work for this too. And that's just not how unconditional love, grace, the gift of grace, it's not how it works. But I have to reconcile that daily.
And how do you do that?
When the anxiety creeps up, I have to push it back down. I have to speak to it. I have to literally say, no, that's not how that works. I'm going to continue to try to do good. I'm going to continue to try to sow good seeds. I'm going to continue to put good things into the world, but it's not because I want grace in return.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's just the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not that the thought is a bad thought. It's not a bad feeling to want to do good. It's just not a dependent variable in me receiving grace. So I have to literally say it. I have to hear myself say it. I have to have these conversations to make sure I'm not on some island alone beating myself up for feeling this way. That's part of the mission here, right? To have community so you don't feel alone in these moments when you know your thoughts aren't connecting to the facts.
Yeah.
And there's a disconnect. So it's an active daily speaking to it, addressing it, changing the record player that's continuously going in my head.
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is a fact, but in my experience, humans love to assign meaning to everything.
Because you want to keep a score.
Exactly. And because if I can keep score, or if I can put this in a box, or if I can see if I do this, then this happens, then I have some sort of control and I feel safe. And grace, you cannot wrestle grace to the ground and put it in a box.
It's so true.
Yeah, it doesn't attach itself to if I do this, then you get that. And man, I'd love it to. As you were talking and when you said I'd like to rewind and put these words back, it's like, oh heck no, please. Are you reading my mind? Like, it is. It's getting caught up in the worldly idea that if I do this, then I receive this.
Mm-hmm.
And grace is like, no.
And it insults the very source of grace. That there's something so great that I could do to deserve this. There's nothing I could do on this planet that would ever justify the amount of love and grace God has shown me. There's nothing. There's no act that I can do. There's no demonstration that I can try. So once I get into that reality and that truth, then I'm immediately propelled into gratitude. You can't help but be gracious and have thanks in your heart when you realize I really did nothing to deserve this level of love and grace. I just didn't. And my only reasonable response at that point, once I've gone around the drain and I've gone to, Timbuktu and back with all my thoughts, once I land in that spot, I'm so grateful. The only appropriate thing is to say thank you.
Absolutely.
What's your biggest misconception? Past tense or present?
Oh, you like blew it out of the water, so I got to get quiet for a minute. It's along the same lines, but my biggest misconception is that someday I'm going to make a mistake that's so big that I'll never see grace again. It's very much along the same lines. But that fear that it's the limitation, or it might not even be the limitation, it might be the other side of that I'm so powerful that I could choose something that would eliminate grace from my life. And that is the biggest lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that doesn't give me free reign to go make, well, grace ain't going anywhere. So it's a free for all.
Like, leave a trail of destruction and calamity. No problem.
Come on, Grace. Come on along. Yeah, it doesn't lead to that, but it's that idea can keep me real small.
Has there been anything you've done in your past, and I don't want you to tell me what it is, but is there anything that comes to mind that was so bad and you thought surely Grace is going to leave me now, and it didn't? Well, we
Yeah.
know it didn't, but can you think of that something in your mind?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
How long did it take you before you realized, hey, it's still here?
Oh my gosh. I think uh, I think grace was there all along,
Hmm.
but for me to realize and actually be open enough to receive grace, it took a little while. Because the other, I don't know how to put this in words. Um, Grace is always here and it's always available, and I can be blind to it. And that is all my own doing. Now, I can't make it disappear forever, but I can be blind to it. And they know what happens? You know what happened is I don't deserve it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe where I am. What the heck am I doing? Why am I here? All of this. Being blind to grace, you know what grace did? It got louder.
Hmm.
And it kept getting louder until I got out of my own way and let some in.
Just kept knocking at the door, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome. That's the beautiful thing about grace. Like, if you can ignore the doorbell if you want to, it's gonna knock.
Mm-hmm. You can hide behind the door. You can close all the windows.
It's gonna keep showing up.
And here's the beautiful thing is grace doesn't keep score. Grace doesn't care if you shut the door in its face over and over. It's like, well, I'll see you next time. That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So for that, along those lines, for that thing you had in your mind, that was the biggest mistake you've ever made, the worst thing you've done. You had to forgive yourself. You have to. Did you? Did you? Did you forgive yourself?
That's a good question.
Well, don't answer it yet.
Oh,
Don't
good.
answer it yet.
Okay.
What's the relationship between grace and forgiveness? Or is there a relationship?
If I think back to the time that we're talking about, what comes to mind is that there is no forgiveness without grace. Like me, human all by myself, I don't have the power to forgive myself. I don't have the power to forgive anybody. Now I can want to, but without grace, uh, I want to hold on. I want to hold on to they did this, so therefore, or I didn't do this, or I did this, and we come all the way back around to what you began with, that I can't earn grace. I didn't do anything to have grace. And grace is the thing that turns the key in my heart to let go of whatever it is that is keeping me from forgiving.
Hmm. That's interesting. So in the absence of grace, forgiveness is still keeping a scorecard.
Yes, absolutely.
Still trying to make it make sense. I gotta tell you, if I'm honest, there have been situations where I thought to myself, I have no reason to forgive you. None.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna take it a step further and be angry at myself for forgiving you all those other times.
I hear that.
So now I don't forgive you, and I don't forgive me, and there's no forgiveness. And then Grace steps in and says, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're not keeping score. What if God kept score on your problems and your issues and every time you mess up? And this isn't conditional. It's not how it works. Now, this is not a free pass for a trail of destruction and calamity, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally agree with you, Carrie. I totally agree. I don't think you can have true forgiveness that turns and forgets
Yes.
without the veil of grace. You can't have it.
I can't see. I don't have the eyes to see that. I don't have the eyes to look at a person that I either harmed and did something, to look at them and be able to forgive myself without the eyes of grace, or if I felt like I was harmed by them, to look at them and be able to see them as God sees them.
Mm-hmm.
Just another kid in the kingdom.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of freedom in that.
There really is. But it's not easy. I mean, I'm the kind of person who walks up to a barrel of apples and they can be the prettiest, freshest apples that were just picked. And I'm going to find that one with the spot.
I knew you were going to say that, the one with the worm.
I am going to find that one with the worm, and I'm going to say the whole batch is ruined because we got this one in here with the worm. That's just my natural inclination. Now, I've gotten pretty good at hearing that thought and immediately addressing it, immediately redirecting it, immediately reframing it. But it's going to come.
I hear you. So let's stay with the apples. So you look at this beautiful basket of apples and you see the one with the squishy spot, and there might be a worm coming out of it.
Maybe. I'm going to see whether it's there or not.
There you go. Oh, I love it. Even better. And then this, it all raises up, like that whole story. Oh, they're all bad. What do you say to yourself?
Again, full transparency here. I have to take it out. Mm-hmm. Now, in this example, this metaphor, I have to remove the apple. But in a real life sense, I have to pluck out that thought. Mm-hmm. I have to remove it and I have to toss it to the side. Because just like that one bad apple doesn't make the whole crate bad, that one bad thought doesn't make me all bad. Exactly. And I have to forgive myself in that moment and go back to my foundation of grace and love and forgiveness. And I have to see it differently. And now I have my sunglasses on of grace. And I see that this is beautiful. This is good. This is pure. This was for me. This was prepared for me. And I have to think that way about myself so I can believe myself. That one thought was bad, but I am good because God made me in his image. And he wouldn't have made junk. So I have to give these self-affirmations to myself the same way I have to deal with the apples. But I'm still going to see that apple. And I'm going to see that worm, whether it's there or not. And I'm going to have that thought. And I'm going to make it much worse than it is. And I'm going to convince myself that I'm the only one in the room who thinks it.
Oh, yes, of course.
And what's wrong with me? Is this part of childhood trauma? I'm going to analyze it and think about it and try to figure out where it's coming from. And the truth of the matter is just pluck it out. Remove it. Mm-hmm. Toss it. And then you can see the beauty. I'd like to get to a point where I don't even have to remove it. I don't even see it. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be lovely.
That if my eye didn't immediately go to the mushy apple. I'm not there yet.
Sounds like a prayer though. Sounds like an ask.
Yeah, for sure. Because I am not there. Mm-mm.
And
Not
that's
there.
grace too. It's beautiful. Like this is the stuff I love to do. I love to hear about your bad apple that you see coming from a mile away,
A
right?
mile away.
Absolutely. And I love to hear it because it's like, oh, me too. Yes. Yes. Yes, I get that. Is that part of being human? Like, am I
Yeah.
okay?
Carrie, that bad apple has pom poms and whistles, and it is calling my name. Ebony, see me, see me. And I'm like, be quiet. I don't want to see you. I'm trying to be good.
You know what? And I loved how you talked about the analysis and kind of went down the path. And when grace comes in, it's like, it's okay. Who cares? Who cares why I see it? But I do. And now I can do something about it. You know what? I'm not accepting your invitation. Thank you very much. It's been real. And I'm going to go
Right.
look over at these other apples and maybe have one.
Yeah. Because if I shook this basket just a little bit, I wouldn't have even seen it.
Oh,
Wouldn't have even seen it. Because the beauty of everything else would have covered that. And I can go in a whole other direction with that metaphor. But when you choose to fix your focus,
yeah,
you don't even see the other stuff.
absolutely. And that's very much part of the intention of talking about grace here. I want to point to it in every direction, every possible direction, because whoever's listening may say, oh, I know that. I know what that looks like. And once they start to see it in one place, it's going to be like the car you buy and you see it everywhere on the road.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mother's Day is coming up, and grocery stores have the most beautiful flowers, and I'm a sucker for a floral department. I love them. But just like those stinking apples, I'm gonna find the one mom, the one flower that sucks. Like, why'd they put this out? It's making all the rest of them look bad, as opposed to this department is gorgeous. There's so many colors, there's so much life, there's so much flourishing here. Oh, look, one didn't make it. It's okay. That's not how I see it, though. You know?
At
And
first.
at first, and then you know the little minions come and they march in and they go, no, don't do it, Ebony. Reframe, reframe, reframe. And I have that conversation with myself, and then everything's beautiful again. But oh, it's so interesting, and I'm so glad we're talking about it because these conversations, to your point, make you feel a little less isolated,
Yeah.
a little less crazy about the things that go on in your own head that we never talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody wants to be a cynic, not at this age,
Oh, unicorns and rainbows, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. If only that were true.
So Ebony, did you get to answer what the relationship is between grace and forgiveness?
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I don't think you can have true forgiveness without grace. You can try. I've tried. But the issue is it was temporary. Because the next time a similar offense was made, I was right back in that zone that I thought I had forgiven the individual for.
I do.
Um,
And that, can I interrupt for a second?
yeah.
Because that is a great point that if you're revisiting something that you think you've forgiven, how about inviting grace in?
If you want sustainability,
Yeah.
you know,
I know you can't lasso it and pull it in, but you can say, you know what, God, I need a little grace here. So when you're ready, bring it.
and I think grace will also speak to you in a way so you know when it's time to walk away, so you know when it's time to let go, so that this isn't a free pass to continue being in the same cycle. That's not what it is. It's just an opportunity to let go of the things that carry us down, the things that are heavy weights on our shoulders, because we're trying to hold on to it, and we need to let that stuff go. Whether you're forgiving yourself or forgiving someone else. Show a little grace, a lot where necessary, receive some. Yeah, so I totally agree with your answer. I'm right there with you.
Awesome. I would love to, it sparked something for another podcast of grace isn't always like, oh, everything feels better because grace is here. Sometimes grace is going to push you to do something. So I'd like to look at that one day.
Yeah, that would be cool to talk about a little bit. I mean, it doesn't always feel, in the moment, it's not always going to feel intuitive. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Well, that's good.
That is good. Any other thoughts or about the misconception or the relationship or just grace in general?
I don't think so. Of course I have thoughts. They never stop. But I think for the purpose of what we're discussing today, I think we've covered it. The beautiful thing about forgiveness is, the ultimate forgiving sacrifice was made long before we came. So that we would not have to be in this keeping score situation. And for that, I'm pretty grateful and thankful. For that, we can see grace and receive it freely without condition, without having to earn it. So at the end of the day, that's what I remind myself of. There was a score to be paid. There was a price, and it was paid in full. So there's no reason for me to keep revisiting it,
Absolutely.
And then that helps my logic a little bit more.
Absolutely. I love the word tendency. So it's a word I use often these days, and I have a tendency to keep score. I have a tendency to think I'm not enough, that I have to be something more before I can have grace in my life. And so if there's anybody out there who has that tendency as well, I encourage you to be curious and open to seeing how grace may ambush you this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Look for it daily.
Yeah.
God's grace is sufficient on a daily basis. It's not something you only see on Saturdays when you're out and about. That's good. Well, we're going to do this again?
Yes, we are. If you're willing, I'm willing.
Of course.
Oh, good. Wow. It's been awesome. Thank you. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you. All right. Grace out?
All right. Grace out.
Next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. We love to hear from you, and share it with a friend. Also, please be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. We hope you're leaving with another pointer to grace, a new perspective that will light it up in your own life. Until next time, be well, be bold, be kind to yourself, and be on the lookout.